we have seen, just as we have major and minor scales, so too we have major and minor triads. Let's review just for a moment. Let's create a C major scale beginning on the pitch C. Now, let's add some thirds to it, intervals of thirds, above each of these pitches to create triads. All of the triads build upon the scale, with one exception that we needn't go into, is either a major or a minor triad. Here's what they look like now on a keyboard. Major on top, minor beneath it. Notice that we have two perimeter pitches, the outer edges, the outer pitches. And it's really only the center pitch, the middle note, that varies from one triad to the other. To create a minor triad, for example, we simply move the middle pitch down a half step. Move it, in this case, from E down to E flat, as you can see by the arrows. But the immediate shift between major and minor triads is something of a sensual sensation. It's sensational. Play this again, this way or this way. Composers have recognized this over the centuries. One of the best examples is to be found in a piece by the American composer John Adams. We'll deal with the music of Adams at the end of our course when we get to modernism and postmodernism. But for now, let's just listen to what he does in a work called Black Gondolas. It was inspired, Adams' piece was inspired, by the 19th century composer Franz Liszt, who was in turn inspired by the image of a black coffin, that of his son-in-law, composer Ricard Wagner, when Wagner's body was transported from Venice back to Germany in 1883. A long story we don't need to go into in any detail. Anyway, let's just listen to the rocking of the gondola here. We'll perceive it that way because of the rocking, or at least the alternation back and forth between major and minor triads. Again, John Adams' Black Gondolas. Major, minor, major, minor, changes pitch level, major, minor, major, minor. Again, another pitch level change, major, and so on. Very beautiful, but it's really just built on the alternation of major and minor triads. This same emotional tug-of-war, this yin and yang between major and minor, can also be felt in a famous piece by Beethoven, the first movement of his Moonlight Sonata. You see the score on the screen. Beethoven has written a melody and an accompanying harmony. But instead of playing the accompanying harmony as block chords, block triads, he plays the notes in succession. Playing the notes of a chord in succession, instead of all at once, creates what's called an arpeggio, derived from the Italian word arpa. Harps do a lot of this sort of thing, an arpeggio. Let me play one for you. So it could be here, but we can spin out these notes as an arpeggio. And that's what Beethoven does at the beginning of his Moonlight Sonata. And so on. But these sounds of Beethoven deserve the richness of an old Steinway piano. So let's turn to that. toward the end of the passage, you get a sense of what Beethoven might have been intending. Let's imagine that we were outside on a moonlit night. Clouds intermittently block our view of the moon, but as they do so, the umbra of the moon is alternately light or dark. Let me see if I can play this now on an electric keyboard over here. Minor, major, minor, and so on it goes. So that's how major and minor triads work. By the way, this lovely movement is only the first movement of a three-movement sonata, a three-part sonata. We'll talk about sonata later in our course. But let's see how arpeggios are used in the final movement. Here, arpeggios race up and down the keyboard. Now, I made hash of that just then, but it reminds me of a personal story. When I was about 20, studying piano at the Eastman School of Music, I realized that I could never really play this piece up to speed without breaking down. And that was an aha moment for me. I knew that at that point, I'd better find another line of work, that I was never going to make a dime as a professional concert pianist. And I did. Anyway, you'll enjoy watching someone play this a bit more correctly than I'm able to, and certainly able to now, as we turn to a YouTube clip, the last movement of Beethoven's famous Moonlight Sonata. Minor, major, arpeggios racing up. Playing that was like an exhilarating ride on the back of a wild stallion. Unfortunately for me, most of the time I fell off.